Week 4, we finished heat loss. We touched base on some of the basics of heat loss, based on infiltration and transmission. Now we'll have some kind of general idea of what are the options, what are the advantages or disadvantages. So probably you know already 80% of this material. Should be common knowledge, should be something we already discussed last semester. It's just a refresher. So what types of heating systems do we have? Right off the bat?
Gas furnace.
Gas. What else? Oil.
Coal.
Hot water.
Coal.
Steam.
Hot water, steam. There's also like heat sources. So we're gonna talk about the heat source. So what kind of heat source we have? Either combustion.
Yep.
We're gonna burn either gas or oil or wood or pellets, or we can have electrical, which is 2 types.
Geothermal.
No, electrical. What are the 2 types of electrical?
Geothermal, as well as those two.
Okay. What are the 2 types of electrical?
Baseboard and radiation.
What is baseboard?
Baseboard is
Natural convection.
natural.
No, but it's a heating coil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
The other
resistant.
type is
The dish.
heat pump.
So baseboards and heat pumps?
You can say heat pumps and electrical coils. The coils are going to be either you can put them in a hot water system, you can put it in radiators, you can put it in the air, or you can use a heat pump, which is a refrigeration cycle. We'll talk about that a little bit. Available heat sources, how you make heat. We'll talk about efficiency, which is something we already discussed before, but we'll go over it again. Heat distribution system. So for us, that is going to be either air or water. So either you're going to use forced air to get the heat from the basement or from the furnace, from the top of the attic all the way to the house to distribute the heat. Because you're gonna make heat in one source, right? And you have to distribute it. For the heat pump, what do we do? It's called ductless minisplits. So we have one condenser outside, but we have many evaporator in each room. That's a way to distribute heat. Also, we have here the duct system, which we cool or heat the air in one place, and we distribute that through inducer fans. Or we have hot water system, and we use hot water to distribute the heat. What else? One thing I left.
Steam.
Steam. You know, do steam, heat steam in one source, then distribute steam everywhere else. So hydronic systems, hot water, radiators, radiant floor heating, also water. This goes through the floor. Steam system. Guys, class start. 10-10. Steam system. Forced air system. Could be either hot or cold. I'll write these down, and they're also in your book. Any questions? We know about this, probably you're familiar with them, so it gives you option. What fuel to use and why? That depends on many factors, but mainly availability and cost. A lot of people are switching from oil to gas because gas is cheaper, but not always. Oil prices goes up and down. Gas is also the same thing, but it's kind of more steady. So you have gas, you have oil. You can also use pellets. Pellets are not always available, and the pricing always changes, not fixed. So this is what we have available in the US. It's from the Department of Energy. Usually, this is for housing. 50% is natural gas.
Is this nationwide?
Yeah. Propane, natural gas comes from the ground and also is man-made. This is methane and ethane, natural gas, they call that natural gas. Propane and LPG, which is liquefied petroleum gas that comes with oil. And fuel oil, that's diesel, 6%. Mainly fuel oil you're gonna see in Northeast, in Minnesota, North area was really cold. You'll use fuel oil. Wood is 2%, so it's very common. I know in Vermont, a lot of people use wood for heating. But you chop a tree, cut it
No,
down.
yeah, obviously, but like I'm saying, like you put it, where do you put the wood, they have wood boilers.
Yeah,
There's indoor and outdoor
That's
rooftop
what
boilers.
is that not last long?
It does last more than you think. If you have a house that's very well insulated,
Yeah.
usually one tree will be enough for the entire season for a family house.
You could
One
run
tree.
a
And it depends on the
wood
size of
boiler
the house. I know,
exploding at once.
Yeah.
I know
So-
between, like, depending on the season, we go between 8 and 14 cord,
Yeah,
heating season.
but I know a lot of people in Vermont that one tree actually is regulated. You can get one tree a year, and sometimes it's enough for the entire season. If you run out of the tree, you can use oil or something else. But mostly if the house is very well insulated, one tree will be enough. And they did the math for it, and it's supposed to be okay. And also, in Massachusetts, the firewood is regulated, but you're allowed in some town to chop down a tree and use that for fuel. So wood is a very possible, depending on the population density. I mean, if everybody chop a tree every year, that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a desert here in no time, so it has to be regulated. But there is 2%. New England is one of the overforested areas in America that has a lot of trees, but again, it has to be regulated.
But does the size of the tree like matter too?
Yeah, they have regulation how big it is and the age, and they will tell you which one to cut or not, and you should like always check with the coach.
Species.
Kind of like fishing. When you fish, they tell you what the size of fish and so on.
And
No, I'm
species
saying
too.
you said
Yeah.
like you said one tree should last like a year.
Yeah.
Right? But like
That's a
depending on-
ballpark, depending on the house and
Yeah.
how does it go. And again, it's going to subsidize your oil use. So you can't depend on it all the time, and depending on how much heat you need and how insulated your house is. Okay, so what others? Some of the others is biomass. So biomass is basically sometimes landfill, get burned, recycled oil, whatever it is. These are also sources of heat that you put in a boiler and heat and combust at certain temperature for the least amount of waste. Electricity is 34%, which is the tricky part because where does electricity come from? That is questionable. It depends. A lot of states now use solar and wind turbines for electricity or gas, but we're still depending on coal. So this portion of electricity also can be chopped down into different kind of sources, depending on what you use to make electricity. By electricity, we mean places like south of DC. We do have a lot of cold winter. You can use electrical coil. It doesn't get that cold. And also, if the house is very insulated, probably don't need the heater all that long. Or you can use heat pumps. Heat pumps are very efficient when it comes to places that don't require a lot of heating. So that's what we have. We try to maximize electricity, especially if it comes from green sources or renewable sources. So the goal eventually is to have electricity take over, but at least this portion, and make electricity out of wind turbines, underwater turbines, or solar, geothermal, or any kind of renewable energy. So that is the ultimate goal, to have that. But if you think about fuel oil, which is 6%, it's not a lot. If we use electricity and a little bit of fuel oil for the tough winter, like January and February in New England, that will be sustainable. So it's a matter of balancing consumption and what you use for fuel. Here's another map, very interesting. This is from the New York Times, I think it was last year. And how things has changed from coal to natural gas in terms of electricity generation, and that goes into 30% electricity. So nuclear, we have more nuclear power plant. So I think this is North or South Carolina. There was a lot of nuclear in Pennsylvania. And hydroelectric is very convenient when it comes to states that are close to water. There's a lot of rivers and dams here, so that's using also hydroelectric. Massachusetts is also using some hydroelectric, but a lot, Maine and Vermont. So whenever you have a dam or river, you can use that for hydroelectric.
Why don't they use more hydroelectric with all the rivers running through the states?
Well, there's a lot of regulation that goes around building a dam. So when we want to use hydroelectric, you have to build a dam. And building a dam is not that easy in terms of like what is the effect on the downstream of the source of the water. So I don't know if you know about the, what is it called? What is the big river in California?
The water?
The big river in California that's drawing, the Colorado River. So they have a few dams on that, and it starts from here all the way to California. And as we have more dry seasons now, it's not running all the way. So having a dam will choke the flow for the downstream. So it's very, very questionable should we build a dam. There's a lot of politics involved. There's a lot of geographical things that you have to consider when it comes to hydro.
Holyoke uses hydroelectric, right?
Huh?
Isn't Holyoke, don't they generate?
Yeah, there are some fuel.
And that's
generation.
renewable energy, right? Hydroelectric?
Yeah.
I'm just saying like, mid-country where Mississippi is, doesn't seem like they have any hydroelectric.
Again, you gotta think about the population as well, and what is the use.
Well, they could be producing for the rest of the country.
I don't know, maybe we should tell them that. I'm just telling you what's existing right now, nothing to justify it. So, okay, so this is what we have, in the fuel, so it kinda helps you what you should choose based on the pricing. So the kilowatt hour in Massachusetts is kinda expensive. Actually jumped from 15 cents to 25 cents per kilowatt.
Really?
So it is pretty expensive.
When? When, John?
Again, I don't know. It used to be 50 and now it's 25. I'm just telling you facts. So when you want to think of heat pump, you should consider that. When you want to consider electrical, you should consider how expensive is the kilowatt. It depends on the town, it depends on the city, and it depends also in what power company is providing the power. Again, that's 3 years ago. Things has changed and not really improved. Nuclear is, a lot of nuclear projects has been cancelled or replaced, but again, there's a lot of religious tension going on. Just to give you an idea, and this is the link, maybe you should go check it out, maybe they update it. Okay, how to compare? So when we want to install a system, for us, that's for us, as technicians, as somebody who's going to go to a house and give you an estimate, and give you a suggestion. What are we comparing? The cost of installation, the cost of operation. So, second is the performance. What do we want for performance? We want to be able to achieve temperature comfort we need and the humidity. And we said the two main goals for HVAC is humidity and temperature. If we can achieve that, then we're good. So I'm gonna compare the cost for systems based on installation and based also on operation. What else?
Efficiency.
Okay. Let's say they both perform well. Maintenance, right? So when you have a company that comes and install an AC for you, they will gonna include for you an annual maintenance that will guarantee the equipment to run for as much warranty they have. 10 years, granted that you're gonna do this maintenance. Same when you buy a car, right? They tell you 60,000 for 3 years, whichever comes first. Granted, you have to bring the car every 5,000 miles, otherwise the warranty is void. So when you go to a company and you want to install an AC for you, they'll tell you there's 10 years warranty on this AC. However, we have to come and do the maintenance every year. It's going to cost you this much, depending on what do we need to do. So you gotta compare the cost of installation, the cost of operation. That's how much fuel is going to cost you, and how much electricity is going to consume. Again, the cost of maintenance, which a lot of people do not think about. So you're gonna kind of break it down and do a good comparison. Performance, efficiency goes into performance. How well will it perform? How fast does it cool? How will it maintain temperature? Usage. If I'm going to put an AC in a room that you only use twice a year, how much I'm gonna use it? You're gonna put that into the estimation as well. How much do you use the AC? Where do you use it? Which part? So it makes sense. For example, when you were asking, should I heat the garage? Okay, you can put that in the installation, but you should consider whether you should zone it out or not. What if you don't use the garage all year and one day you want to do a car project or something? Maybe you should put the heat only for that time. You can zone it out. So would that go into the cost of operation? Probably not. So there's a give and take. An attic or a basement that you don't use all year, maybe you should not heat as well. So there's a lot to go into the cost and comparison, so you can give really good estimate. Okay? Maybe you should put a mini split unit for the main house, and for a guest room you can put a window AC to kind of like lower the cost for initial installation and have something that you're not going to use as much. So that's something you should consider. So there's no one solution fits all. And you should be able to explain that and elaborate on it. So when you compare something, you're gonna compare something to something else, right? Or this is the most efficient, okay, compared to what? Linguistically speaking, if you compare something, or comparing to what? What cost, what are you comparing? So that's something you have to think about. If somebody tell you forced air is the most efficient, you have to also question. You're comparing to what? And what are we calculating the efficiency on? And I told you about thermal efficiency and combustion efficiency. And the word efficiency does not mean the same everywhere. And again, when you advertise something, you always try to have high efficiency. So what are you calculating its efficiency? We also looked at the label. The yellow label comes on appliances and tell you this appliance costs you $70 a year. Okay, then you read the fine line with the magnifying glass. This cost has been estimated based on $14 cents kilowatt hour, based on an operation of 3 hours a day for 1 month, or something like that. So you have to look at that and make sure that it does apply to your usage. So usage is very important. What do you compare it to? Any questions? So this, just to give you an idea, when you go to estimate a house or estimate installation, to have some kind of like credibility in what information you're providing to the customer. Okay? So, electrical heaters, 1 kilowatt equals 3,000 BTU hours. So if your room loses around 3,400 BTUs an hour, you're gonna use 1 kilowatt every hour to heat that room, which is very typical. How much is that? 1 kilowatt? I said 20 to 25 cents. So that's for 1 hour. So if you heat that room for 12 hours or 10 hours, that's around $2.50 every day for a month. It's gonna add up. So if you get a electricity bill for like $800, you know why. And you know with the electricity they have, I don't know what they call it, but from one number to another, they charge differently than the other consumption. If you consume from 1 to 2 kilowatts a day, they charge you 25 cents.
Really?
I think so. It doesn't have, it goes in consumption. Once you go to the second part or portion of the pricing, it goes differently. So the more you consume, the more expensive it is. Question?
I pay 15 cents per kilowatt investment.
Maybe it's a different company.
I just checked my bill,
Yeah.
708 kilowatts, and
Yeah.
I paid $101.
Every town has different pricing, and it depends also on the power company, and it depends on how far do they transport it and what fuel they use. Every town is different. It doesn't go by a whole state. I know Holyoke pays different than Springfield. Springfield pays different than Innsbruck Middle, etc. How it's taxed, and also what it is to reduce it. Okay. So I know last I checked in Springfield was 25 cents, 22 cents, something like that. And it used to be 15 cents. In Florida, it's 7 cents. Again, it's changed seasonally. It changes what time to use it.
You said 7 cents?
7 cents. So efficiency, the maximum you can get from electric heater is 99.5%. So they are very efficient, which means whatever kilowatt you put in it, you get almost the same in BTUs. So that's very, very high efficiency.
Yeah, but that's efficiency from the outlet to the heater, not from the factory.
No, from the heater from electricity to heat.
Yeah. It's not completely efficient because
No.
you have to make the electricity.
No, yeah,
The
you don't
nap
talk about electricity, you talk about
process.
electricity to heat. Converting from electrical to heat is 99.5%. So whatever you already paid for kilowatt, you're gonna get almost the same in BTUs. So this is something you can put in your air duct, which is a very big coil. that will heat the air going into the duct. One example. They also have baseboard electrical radiators. So the same thing as here, but instead of water, you have a big heat strip that will heat continuously. Also, you have those little space here with air in it. So these are the electrical heaters that transfer heat, electricity, complete into heat using coils. And advantages, they're economical, very quick to install, very cheap to install, they're not expensive. You just plug it in, have somebody come and wire it, and you're done. There are coils you can put in a hot water system. You can get a big tank, heat the water and circulate the water, so you have one big coil in the basement instead of having one small coil in every apartment. They're easy to replace. Again, you plug in the old one, unplug the old one, and put in a new one. Very easy and quick to replace. They do not require piping. If you put in the baseboard that's you plug in, you don't have to pipe it. But if you do a hot water system that's electrical based, you have to pipe. And usually they do that when you already have a failed boiler. You want a cheap replacement. You don't want to pay $7,000 to replace the boiler. So you get a tank and you put coil in it and heat the water using electricity. I've seen that done many times. Again, it's very, very expensive to operate, not to install. Usually people who try to rent out houses do that because they're gonna rent to the house, they're gonna charge you very cheap for rent, but then you get very high bill. Luckily, there are now laws in some cities, especially Westfield, that they don't let you rent a house like that. Which is, I think, they don't let the owner rent the house with electrical heaters, because the renter is gonna end up footing the bill for every expensive usage. It can be located in tight location. That's really another advantage. You can have a heater in a very small location in the corner with a fan in it, and it can be very convenient. So that's something also to think about if you want to have a heater in a small room that's very far away, or addition, or an annex to the house, where you don't have to do any piping. Quick acting. So you turn it on, you're gonna get heat right away. Within a few minutes, it's gonna be nice and warm because it heats the air directly in contact with your body. Easy to clean and maintain. You do know that all those fins have to be maintained and cleaned periodically, right? If you don't go and vacuum those, especially if you have a lot of pets, where the hair and dust get trapped into the radiator, if you don't clean those fins, they will lose efficiency over time. So those should be vacuumed clean with water. And you can see it's easy to trap things in here. And over time, if you have, depending on what kind of things you have in your house, they might have a lot of accumulation, and you might have to wash them with a power washer, which is something you may probably do every once every 3 years or so. But the vacuum is very important, because otherwise it's going to get clogged, and the air is not going to go through it, and efficiency will go down through those pipes. So the same thing with the heaters. They're much easier. Some of them even have ceramic plates. When you go just and wipe it down, you clean the surface. Disadvantages: they have very high operational costs. Question?
Do electrical baseboard heaters work like hot water or steam radiators?
No, hot water.
So it works like that?
Yeah.
With it works with natural convection?
Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of having this pipe, we have this kind of similar pipe. Inside the pipe will be heat or
Okay.
heating element. Those few thermostats. So this will run up your electricity bill. So we're good. It can cause a electrical hazard if it's not wired properly. Again, it's drawing a lot of amperage. Most of those heaters for one room probably around 1,500 kilowatts. So 1,500 kilowatts. 1,500 watts. 1,500 watts or 110. We say it's 110. So you're drawing 15 amps on that circuit. That's a lot of amps. So you wanna make sure it's sound, you know, make sure that the wiring is proper, and otherwise, again, the insulation of wires are made of plastic. If it turns the wrong way, it might bend, it might overheat. And even if you have a space heater and you touch the receptacle, it probably is very warm. So it can cause electrical hazard, but if wired properly, it should be okay. And the problem is also in the resident nectar or alteration. They unplug it or plug it or put something in the same circuit. So make sure if you install one of those, to consult with an electrician, because it shouldn't be connected to a receptacle. It should have its own wiring and its own circuit breaker, especially if it's drawing 15 amps or 13 amps. They do not condition the air, which means does not filter particles and adjust humidity. Actually, they dry the air more. So, which holds more water, hot air or cold air? Hot air.
Yeah.
That's why the hair blow dryer is hot air. So when air is hot, it expands and can hold more water, so it feels drier than cold air. So if you have a contained vessel with some water in it and you heat that vessel, the water gets hot and expands inside the vessel, and it will feel dry, but it's not that dry. But the ratio of relative humidity decrease, and that's what you're measuring for. So it does not condition the air, so you're gonna end up having to put some humidifier in the room. It does not filter particles or adjust humidity, although some of them do have filters. But they try to avoid putting filters in the heater, next to the heater, because that's gonna cook the filter over time and might cause a fire. So the air goes through it. The heating element eventually will wear out over time. The new ones last longer than the old ones, but they do eventually wear out. They don't last forever, so you have to replace them once in a while, especially if they are submerged in water. If you're going to heat water using a heating element, it will eventually wear out and rust, so you have to change it. Requires specialty wiring, so you need a certified electrician to come and wire those heat elements. Okay, any questions? Does anybody have any electrical heaters in their house? Electricity?
I plug one in my bedroom
Yeah.
to keep it.
Subsidized,
just
yeah.
A little bit warmer.
See, that's a smart idea also.
Just
Like,
a little bit
yeah.
warmer than.
I don't wanna heat the entire house, I'm gonna turn the heater for the entire house, I'm gonna just like put some extra heat in the bedroom. That's a very good way to economize. Again, rooms you need to use, you wanna mothball, let's say there's a portion that you heat or don't need to use, you can turn off the heat going to that
Yeah,
portion.
since I'm by myself, I keep my house at 60.
Yeah.
And then I keep my room at about 70.
Yeah, that makes a big,
But the heat's on,
yeah.
but it's only making up like 10 degrees.
yeah,
Can you go
Yeah.
back just a second?
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's also a good idea. For bedrooms, you can, instead of heating the entire house and heating the water all the way in the basement and drying it upstairs, you can have a small space heater, or there are some space heaters that come as hanging in the wall that will radiate into the room. They come with different shapes and colors, and it is more economical than turning the heater for the entire house to turn that 10 degrees up. So it makes a lot of sense.
I want to install electrical board in basement.
Yeah.
Where can I buy it?
Home Depot.
From Depot?
Yeah, you can go online and find some, but Home Depot is good. This stuff you don't want to buy online, because if it doesn't work, you want to go to the store and return it, and you want to also have the warranty with it.
Mr. Khan,
Yeah.
I saw somebody heating a basement with a hot water heater
Yeah.
and a circulator, expansion tank, and the tubes in the concrete in the basement.
Yeah.
It was a closed system, but they also had a plumber come in and put in a water inlet at certain pressure, you know.
Yeah.
And a relief and an expansion tank, but it's all on top of and a circulator, and it's all on top of a water heater. And they circulate that because they only have to have it like at 70 to 80 degrees.
Okay.
I don't know how efficient it is.
Is that a question?
No, I just tell you, I never saw that. I never saw it before, and
Yeah.
I was wondering what you thought about that.
Yeah, okay, maybe they're just putting a new hot water system. And if you put a hot water system, you need to put an expansion tank, because water expands when it heats up, so you have to put an expansion tank and a pump. So probably they added new addition to the house, so that's hot water. We'll talk about the components of hot water. So, heat pumps. What are heat pumps? It's an AC.
Yeah, just let vacuum work on first.
Just, if you take a window AC and turn it around in the winter, same thing. You're gonna get cold air to the outside and hot air to the inside. But again, you're gonna get something with a high efficiency and high compression ratio. So this is what it does, but it doesn't, you don't have to physically turn it. It has a reversing valve where the condenser becomes the evaporator and the evaporator becomes the condenser. So it's basically an AC. They call it heat pump because it can reverse. And the whole thing came out as somebody came up with the idea of the automatic reversing valve where you can reverse the entire operation. So it looks from the outside, it's very convenient. I still don't know how they handle those things on the third floor. But somebody came with a big ladder. Still not beyond me, but apparently they can, it puts some brackets on the outside of the building. You hang them, so you have the condenser in the summertime, the outside, and in the winter times it becomes the evaporator. And they became more and more efficient as the compression ratio got higher, and also as they came with new refrigerants. So yeah, you can work both in summer and the winter and provide you with heat within reasonable temperature. So if you have a place that depends completely on heat pumps, they will work, but the efficiency will go way down in the winter, and it will cost you a lot of money to heat your house using heat pumps. It does not make a lot of sense. Okay, advantages can be used for both cooling and heating. That's pretty cool. And you can use either ductless, like this one's over here, or you can use a central air, like the one we have here. We have both. So you have a central air unit outside, you can reverse and do heating and cooling. And we can also put a small little furnace with it for the cold months, so you can add some heat to it. So if you look at this thermostat, it can have gas as backup, and also gas, you can turn on the gas in January and February. You can have a control that say the temperature outside is below 40, use emergency heat, which is the gas, so it will turn on the furnace. That's why the controls for furnaces and forced air is kind of involved. If you look at those controls in the Goodman furnace we have, has more control because you have more options. Quiet operation, relatively speaking, because the compressor is outside, so you don't have to hear that. And it can be used to condition the air. There are filters. You can put a humidifier in the duct. You can do also a dehumidifier as well. It has a water condensating pump that goes to the outside. Less involved installation than hydraulic system. So again, I'm comparing this to hydraulic system. There's no water or pipe sources required, but you're still gonna have to do duct if you're gonna do central air. With the mini splits, they're very easy and fast to install. So if you want to do mini splits, probably it's less involved than hydraulic. But if you're going to do duct system, it's going to take longer and it will be more involved. Energy efficient, that's for sure. The conversion from electricity to heat and cold is still efficient, not as efficient as the coils, but it gets up to 85%. And that, write that down, that depends on the temperature outside. If the temperature outside is so low and you want it to heat inside, the efficiency will drop. So the efficiency is a function of the temperature difference inside and outside. If it's a few degrees, that's okay. But if you're going to heat from 10 outside to 70 inside, it's not going to be efficient at all. But from 50 to 60, that's fine. It's going to give you good efficiency. Yeah.
Can you say what you said again about when you said write that down?
Efficiency?
Oh, just that? Just Emerson?
No, for the efficiency, it depends. It depends on the temperature difference.
Is that where that SEER ratio comes into play?
Yeah. So temperature ratio. So at small delta T, they are efficient. However, the efficiency drops as the delta T gets bigger. It can be zoned using separate units like those. We have 4 of those and 1 condenser. So zoning is basically you're gonna have 1 evaporator or indoor unit for each room, and you're gonna run the whole refrigerant pipe from this unit all the way to the condenser. So you have almost 30-yard distance to go before you have to fill in more refrigerant, which is pretty convenient. But you got that? All right, one more. Its advantages cost more than electrical coils. If a large unit is needed, that work is required for large spaces. So if you have very large space, again, think about this room. If I want to cool or heat this entire room using only this little thing, it's not gonna work very well. Otherwise, you're gonna have really some serious fan going on. It's going to be noisy, we define the point, and I don't think it's gonna spread all over the place. So I think I need 2 or 3 of those. So this is good for a small room, and this is actually good for a backup with the other central air. So for a large space, probably it's not going to work very well with only 1 unit of those. You need the whole duct system. Efficiency might decline in colder weather, as we said. Requires frequent maintenance. With minisplits, probably you're gonna have somebody come from Bill Pumps and give you a small course about Fujitsu installation. And they will tell you those require a lot of maintenance. You have to clean the indoor unit frequently and the outside. And the filters have to be washed at least once a month, which is very inconvenient because look at the location. You're gonna bring a ladder and go and take it and wash it, so it has to be cleaned frequently. And the compressors for these units are very, very delicate. So if you have any kind of leaks and you don't monitor that leak, it will overwork and eventually it will break. So they require frequent maintenance, and if you don't do the maintenance as suggested, that will void the warranty. So filters need to be cleaned frequently, sometimes up to twice a month, depending on how many hours you use it for, and how much air you get from the outside. If you don't clean the filters, again, that will affect the performance, and eventually it will affect the compressor. And again, the compressor is very small and very delicate, and it can break easily. Not very aesthetically pleasing. Like, I mean, this is okay for a place like that, but a lot of people will not want that in their house. They don't want the look of it. So they don't like the look of it. It looks too bulky inside the house, especially if you have a small room. You're gonna cover all the space in the unit. So that's something else to consider. So don't be shocked when somebody tells you I don't like the way they look. Yeah.
They do have ones they can install in the ceiling that look like a vent.
Yeah. Again, you'll be surprised at what people don't like. And a lot of things goes okay. I don't like how it looks, and you can say anything about that. Try to convince them a little bit. Actually, there are companies who actually make covers for these ACs, like wood cover, some kind of
No,
stickers.
they do for the refrigeration lines.
Yeah.
For like the siding, I've
Yeah.
put up a couple of those.
Yeah.
And they look good after they're like on, like looks very professional.
Yeah.
But
So, I don't know what people care, but they do. You'll be surprised, but everybody's different. Some people notice things more than others, so consider that, and also do not knock people's opinions. Okay, it's his house. He doesn't like it. You try to tell, okay, there are options. Are you okay? What is the advantage and disadvantage? And you'll be shocked. Okay, well, we'll stop here.